Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
hey,
Hello. I've DM'd Crimson to know if she comes.
she just said she's
Yeah.
not going to be. Okay.
No, it's fine. It's recorded anyways. I'll just do some Zoom stuff later on.
Cool.
Okay. So it's been a while. Let's think what happened in that time span. So our litigations went through a few reviews. I have fixed everything, and I believe I'm ready again for some more reviews. We'll have a bunch of stuff to talk about in the later points, and want to spoil that. I looked into test tools. That was great. Found an issue which got closed because the feature was already here. I have added a bunch of documentation to here and there for test tools notably. And yeah, that's about it. I'm still looking into adding recurrent transfers into HiveMind, but I'm putting all of my focus into recurrent transfers. So now that we have a bunch of reviews coming in, I put all of my time into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say that's about it.
Okay. We've mostly been focused on half for the past little bit, in half, and also some applications based off half. So the primary one we've been dealing with is the account history replacement plugin replacement application, and we've been doing tests of that in concert with basically just the half SQL serializer that writes data to the database. So a lot of performance testing, which is challenging because we have to test for a bunch of different metrics. So we're testing the speed of initial sync, and also memory usage and things like that, and also on different hardware and different versions of Postgres. So there's been a lot of different variations just to see how things work. We haven't done much more yet on the HiveMind version of half. That's probably going to come this week. We'll shift back to that. At this point, all the testing, we fixed a bunch of bugs in both SQL Serializer and the account history plugin, and they're all those fixes are working. We've done significant fork testing, and at this point, I think we fixed all the bugs related to forks, and we didn't see any real performance regressions as a result of the fixes. So all that's looking really good at this point. I think we're still on track to release half officially this month, based on the way it's going. Let's see, other things. We had some discussions about the HBD limit changes, and we have apparently the implementation is done and tested. So now it's just a matter of getting consensus on what the new limits should be. I've proposed a 30% hard cap on for the haircut ratio, and then an earlier soft cap of around 20%, with just like an immediate switch over at 20% rather than this gradual one that they had in the past. But that'll be up to discussions and witness votes and stuff like that. Let's see, other things we're looking at. We want to look at doing a few changes to the RC calculations. Most notably right now, custom JSON, apparently RC calculations don't take into account the size of the custom JSON, which is kind of problematic. So it means you can generate really large ones that don't cost any more than small ones. So we want to do some cleanup there. And that's probably not going to be too difficult. And that's probably why we've seen some issues recently where really large custom JSON has been rejected because it doesn't fit well in a block if the block is partially full. So there have been some people who had issues there. Not that this will solve that problem, but it'll discourage creating really large custom JSON unnecessarily. That's for sure. Other things we're looking at doing, we're still considering whether we're going to be able to fit the serialization change to support numeric asset identifiers in that was requested for the hardware wallet. I'm not sure we're going to do that or not, but we're going to try to fit that in. We've already done the vote limit change that was done a while back. I'm just going to go over stuff that's likely to fit into the next hard fork. Those are three things that come to mind. And while the RC change isn't specifically a hard fork change, I'd rather fit it in as part of a hard fork rather than just slip it in on the side, because it's still going to require all the witnesses to update at least. And beyond that, we still need to do some work to look into multi-threading the JSON RP server. We've got an initial prototype, but we haven't yet benchmarked that yet. See how that works out. So that's pretty much it. Most of the time has been spent on half and half a testing the account history plugin. Oh, I guess one more thing we've been doing a bunch of infrastructure work lately with our servers. So we switched over to a new server this weekend for the image server. It's got a lot more hard disk space, and we dealt with the normal hiccups associated with such a move. But I think we've got most of them worked out at this point. We'll still see if any more pop up in the next couple of days. And other server changes, we've been adding a bunch of servers for some of these benchmarks, because it's just a lot of benchmarks to run. It takes a lot of time. So we've I guess about double the number of testing servers we have now of high-speed machines, and just setting those up and getting them tested and figuring out how to configure the hardware for best performance. So we learned a bunch of new stuff there, but that's about it.
Okay, cool. One thing I also forgot to mention is, so there is one thing weird with RC where, I mean, not weird, but sometimes if you're a witness, you can see some laws like RC change without an aberration, which is kind of like a long-standing bug, which is not really a problem, but it's something that like eyebrow raising. I think I have a clue as to what's going on here, so maybe we'll be able to smoothen out the RC implementation.
Okay, you're talking about the negative RC error that pops up sometimes, or different issue?
No, it's the RC change without an operation triggering it. Like,
oh, okay.
Which is like worrying, but we've had that ever since RC exists. So I think it's because one operation is not taken into account in the RC plugin, namely the with-throw vesting. Because I don't think there is like a listener for that event.
What's the operation again?
Withdraw vesting.
Withdraw vesting, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think there is nothing that listens to that specific event happening. And so then, and of course it modifies the RC because you have less.
Yes.
So yeah, the RC is suddenly like, wait, you're supposed to have that much RC, but when I'm calculating your overall RC, you have this much. So I'm raising an alarm. So yeah, I'll look into that eventually. Probably, maybe I'll add that, maybe not as part of the RC changes, because or maybe I will. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I need to look into it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it should be a
Okay,
nice,
well, that brings into, that probably
Actually,
brings up an issue that we need to talk about with the RC anyways. I think
yes,
Vortex about to jump in and say that.
Exactly. Actually, we discussed RC delegation stuff last week and today, and we had some questions related to design of it and interaction to the operations which are involving best balance changes on the account or the account power changes, which next has some impact to the RC delegation or RC power. And the worst thing is that some operations in the blockchain are performing changes in account power in some different way. So not directly at executing of operation, but in some delayed periods. And my question is how it is designed to interact in RC delegation stuff in case when some account has created delegations and next in some circular periods its power is lowering down, how it will be changing its delegation or removing them, etc. And I have even created some list of operations we should review, especially in such cases. So how, if you have time for that, I think you can share this list through your merge request, and you could do such analysis and answers how to interact between RC plugin and mine blockchain behavior in such cases. But maybe this is somehow designed there. I really don't know yet. That's not just my doubts, which we had in the last few days.
Okay, so it is already taken into account, although I'd be very glad to get your list because I may have forgotten some operations. Right now, the operations that I have is withdraw vesting, because then you effectively lose Hive power and RC, delegate vesting shares, and that's it, I think. That's the only way you can lose RC effectively.
For example, withdraw vesting operation performs actual account power change in next.
Oh yes.
Not immediately. So actually, interaction between RC delegation stuff and blockchain should be also be performed maybe basing on processing virtual operation triggered during changing such power. I mean, fill vesting withdraw operation, and similar parts are similar cases are for other operations. For example, a quite complex case can be prepared when you configure vesting withdraw routes. And as I know, there are also cases when users are configuring withdraw routes mostly to self to just to perform vesting and funds retrieval in a more optimal way. And I think we have still a lot of testing here, and maybe this is not just in testing, but we will need some longer scenarios to perform in such testing, and definitely to discuss and to think about how they should work.
So
yeah.
I'm a little confused actually. How do withdrawal routes affect things?
They affect things because just after withdrawing, VES account will get again.
Get it back. You're talking about the case where they withdraw back to themselves.
Yes.
Partially.
That's how it works. If you withdraw to yourself at the withdrawal route, it gets powered back up.
I wouldn't think it would. I would think it would still be liquid.
I don't think it. I think you still get it as liquid, so it's not it doesn't have any
There,
effects. I
there
see.
was something where there was like an immediate power up. I feel like
I
we
have
might
no
have to check
recollection
that.
of that.
There might be something where there could be something where there's a withdrawal that it,
Anyway,
and power back.
But yeah,
power back
yeah,
is not
definitely.
really
Let's
fun.
talk about it. So right now, the way it's done is, so I'm listening to all of this operation, withdraw vesting and fill vesting withdraw. I mean, the virtual operation that happens in a delayed way. And basically, if you cannot sustain your delegations gets cancelled, basically cancelled or modified.
And you're doing it. What's the order you're doing it in?
Yeah, that's another issue. Is I'm doing it in just the regular order where it's like first created, I think.
Okay, so first in, first out.
Yeah, the issue with that is that it's not really optimized because you do not, ideally you'd like to just get the biggest ones so that like if you're only pouring down a little, you can just modify one instead of modifying like,
Yeah, I mean,
10.
it's hard. There's no real firm answer, right?
The issue is that you need
different
to add,
people could want different things.
Yeah, exactly. And also you end up, and also like it's less predictable, I guess. And you kind of end up with a situation where you have to add a new index, which is something that ABW was very much against, which I also agree on, but because this is bound to be, I expect this operation and the object size to it to be as big as Hive power delegations. So I'd like to use as little indexes as possible.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so I don't think there's an ideal answer. So yeah, just pick, if first in, first out is probably as good as any. I mean, and obviously, if somebody wants to control it better, they have an option, which is to cancel their delegations before they
before
withdraw.
Of course.
So they have a way to have it. This is just a last resort. What does the blockchain do if the user doesn't tell it?
And this is where it brings another, while we're on the topic, this is where there is one thing that I haven't, we talked about it in the meeting, I think a month or two ago, but there's like a performance, there is a performance discussion to be had about what do you do then if someone has 100 delegations and all of them needs to be deleted at once. And then let's say in the same block, this happens to another 100 people. You get into a lot of like modify/delete operation in database. I mean, database, quote unquote. Which is something to consider. If I don't fully know, if I've run a few tests with either unit tests, etc., and the performance impact didn't seem too big, but it's still something that to be considered.
Yeah, probably we need to test for it just to make sure that a couple thousand delegations or something doesn't cause a problem.
Yeah, how would can we do that in a unit test and see if, because if you do something that takes, I could probably test that. If I do something too long, will the unit test be like, oh, I couldn't produce the block, or will the unit test just chug along?
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to figure it out. But yeah, well, I need to do a cost analysis on that to see if everything will fail or not. Hopefully not, because to be fair, there is not a lot of changes. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be okay as long as there's not an implementation problem. It seems like it shouldn't be something we can't handle.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So sorry, I can just let it telling stuff. So while we're on the topic, I guess so there's a discussion by Bartek. Basically, the initial implementation of oscillations only allowed you delegate to one user, and that's it. The issue with it is that since it's a custom JSON, you end up in a situation where you can only send 5 per block. And so if you're like Sprinterlands, you may want to delegate to 400K people at once. I mean, not at once, but like at least in a more efficient way.
Yeah, faster.
Yeah. So yeah, I have refactored the whole thing to handle like batch, where you just provide an array of account names instead of just one.
So when you do that, you just allocate the same amount to each one.
Yeah, basically, I took the initial operation apply, and I put all of that in a loop, more or less.
Okay.
So that also means, well, I'm a bit afraid of that because it adds some edge cases where, like, if you have a delegation that already exists for one person, then it will like modify that one, whereas the next user may get a new delegation altogether. I have added a bunch of tests for that, so in theory it should be okay, but it still adds some complexity, which may be unwanted. But yeah, so far I feel like it's still a good trade-off because people will want that feature anyways. And yeah, the point I wanted to bring is that Bartek commented on that, saying that we should have two operations, one batch operation which does multiple accounts at once, and one single operation. And I don't really see the point of that, because in the end, if you want to delegate to one person, you just put an array with one account in it. So I'm not sure it's really worth it.
Right.
But yeah, I wanted to like hear your thoughts on it, Bartek and etc.
So Bartek, did you get that? He's asking you why you would want to have an operation that works on just one account versus just one that works on many accounts and possibly includes a single account as an option.
Well, my intention was on the case when some application vendors like Splinterlands will need to perform some massive operations while creating its delegations. And I think this is some example of real use case, which will appear quite soon after releasing this feature. And actually, that was only one reason for me just to propose such solutions. Actually, I didn't think yet about consequences and which implementation problems it can make. Actually, it was only some proposal to solve this issue somehow.
Okay. So I take it you don't really, yeah, I think sounds like he's fine with it being a single operation.
Since otherwise we are at risk that this Splinterlands will generate thousands of transactions containing operations.
Yeah, definitely.
Delegation from one account to another one. So this is definitely not good from our perspective. So.
Yeah, okay, I agree.
Okay, so I guess we got that one answered. What's next?
Yeah. Also, for the record, I have added a limit of like 100 accounts maximum.
Sorry, I apologize, but could you tell a little slower?
Sorry. When I get excited, I start to talk too long.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, for the record, I have also added a limit so that you can only delegate to 100 accounts at the same time. So that you do not end up with like an RC delegation where you delegate to 10,000 accounts at once, which I feel like some people will try to do. So it's good that we prevent them from doing
there's a block size that'll prevent such operations from fitting.
Yeah, true, but yeah. Anyways, we should be mindful of that. Yeah, I had a point on the other class delegations being posting authority versus active authority, because it was debated heavily on Mattermost, but I'm not sure it's.
Yeah, let's go over that one another day. Mainly because I can't stay on the meeting much longer.
Yeah, I guess okay. I think I'll skip some of the things that are not very important for now. Just one thing is recurrent transfers on HiveMind. Does that sound good to you guys or not?
So what you meant by that was just accumulating the data about them, the history. Yeah,
then,
the only thing I think when we discussed it, maybe it'd make more sense to wait till half because it would fit into half probably better.
Oh yeah, at the same time.
So I mean, if you want to jump into it, you could probably just start taking a look at the half stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of want to, because I want to build support for it in communities later on. So at one point, we'll probably need to mix and match it, but yeah. Okay, so then that's good. And I had two comments, one by Rishi, who wants to change the community use so the owner role cannot be changed. So because he ended up in a situation where his community, he removed the owner role for his community, and now his community is like ownerless, which is not something that should happen.
Yeah, obviously that shouldn't be. That's
So yeah,
it seemed reasonable to me that not allow it to not have any. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So he made
I think he put a fix in for that, right? He submitted some fix.
It's just missing automated test, but I'm sure I'm sure you'll come out on that eventually. And yeah, and finally, Nisinia's Grublem. I have no idea how to say your word. I'm sorry. But yeah, he wanted to allow multiple change of owner authority per hour, and I think you already replied to it, block trades.
Yeah, I think it's something
week
we
ago.
want to do. I just talked about it today with Bartek a little bit. We haven't looked into how to do it yet, but we're gonna see if we can do it and fit it in.
Sounds good. But yeah, that's about all of the things I already had for today. Yeah, looking forward to more reviews, Bartek, and see you soon.
Okay,
Definitely
thanks.
we will do more.
Okay, I guess that's it, unless anyone else has anything then.
No.
Okay,
Thank you
see you
all.
guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Thank you.